Hello, I'm Mr. Garland, and today I'll be talking to you about how to set up quotes for your news stories. Now, just a few reminders for writing your story in general. You want to collect your quotes before you start writing the story. That will prevent you from looking for quotes that build a specific narrative. Your story should really form itself around the information that you gathered rather than the other way around. You also only want to feature one quote at a time, and every time that you put a quote in your story, you should then put a transition both before and after it to give needed context and to transition to the next piece of information you'll be highlighting. Now, the best and worst thing about AP writing style is that it can be very formulaic, and that's never more true than when you're working on quotes. Now, the basic format is pretty simple. You start with a quotation mark, then you put the quote, you put a comma, you put another quotation mark, and then you want to include the source's name. If it's the first time you're talking about them, you want to include the source's relevance to the story, so any titles that would be helpful in understanding them, and the word said, and then you can put a period. One quick note here, a lot of journalists really want to add creativity to their stories by using words other than said when they put a quote, and I'm going to advise you not to do that for several reasons, but the most important of which is that any word other than said could have some sort of bias from you, how it's perceived by the reader. All those things have to be considered when you put together your story. So to just present the facts as they are, the person did say it to you, so you're going to use the word said. Now, if your quote is only one sentence long, then put a period, you are done, and you can move on to your transition paragraph. So here's a really good example of a single sentence quote. This is taken from a story about the Trump administration attempting to shut down TikTok. And here we have a full sentence quote, then the word said, the speaker of the quote's name, and then their relevant titles. So it's nicely packaged together, period at the end, one sentence quote, done, and then they can move on to the next transition paragraph. If your quote is longer than one sentence, then you're going to end the first sentence with a period, and then you're going to start a new set of quotation marks, put the rest of the quote, put the appropriate punctuation at the end of that sentence, and then the last set of quotation marks. One thing I will ask you to keep in mind is even if the person said it exceptionally excitedly, you're the one that's punctuating that sentence. So like it or not, I wouldn't add exclamation marks for excited sentences. Every once in a while, I'm okay with it, especially considering the context. But a lot of times people put exclamation marks because they want their story to look a little bit poppier. They're not that great. Exclamation marks aren't my favorite form of punctuation to begin with, so use them sparingly if at all. And here's an example of a two-sentence quote, or a multiple sentence quote in general. So they set up the first quote, they have the word said, they have the speaker's name, they have their relevant titles with a period at the end of that sentence, and then they start a new sentence with another set of quotation marks, both at the beginning and the end. So if you have more than one sentence in your quote, you can keep it all together, but you do have to have two sections of quotation marks for that to work, but very, very doable. And that's it. You can continue using that format as you make your way through your story. Remember that we like to start with a lead, then have transition quote, all the way down, and preferably ending with a character quote or some sense of resolution to your story. So make sure it's factual, make sure that you're not adding any bias or opinion into any story that shouldn't have them, and if you're struggling with quotes or need some clarification about anything that's in this video, please feel free to reach out to your editor or shoot me a quick email and I will walk you through it. Thanks for watching and have a great day.